In this short video, I want to explain the difference between summative and formative assessments. Now, students often get confused about these, and it is part of the language of education. We talk all the time about summative and formative, and in fact, the distinction is very simple, but I want to just make it clear in this video. So let's run through the differences. We'll start with summative assessments. So let's say the assessment is summative. What does that mean? These assessments are used for course grading purposes. In other words, these assessments are taken into account to work out the student's final grade on the course. These are important. These are critically important for grading purposes. Assume you get, let's say, 54% for a summative assessment, or if it's marked alphanumerically, you could get an A or a B or a C or an E or an F or whatever. Whatever the grade is given, if it's a summative assessment, it's taken into account. That goes on the record. That's your performance on the course. So it is important for grading purposes. That ultimately will determine your final grade on the course, or in fact, whether you pass the course or don't pass it. So summative assessments are critically important. That figure of 54% will be taken into account for your course assessment and will make up your final course grade. So it's summative, it's taken into account. Now, formative assessment, by way of contrast, formative assessments, these are used by the student to gauge or to measure their progress on the course. So formative assessments are useful for students because they can help the student to work out how well they're doing. They're not taken into account for grading. They're just meant to indicate to the student this was a good piece of work, or this piece of work needs improvement, or whatever it is. These formative assessments are not critically important. They're not like summative. Summative, very important for grading purposes. Formative, not important at all for grading purposes. They're not taken into account for course assessment purposes. They are merely there to help the student to work out how well he or she is doing on the course. If a student gets 56% for a formative assessment, that will tell the student how well he or she is doing on the course. It is not used for any other purpose. So I hope that makes the distinction between summative and formative assessments clear. There are two types, one taken into account, one not taken into account. The formative are used to simply help the student work out how well he or she is doing on the course. The summative, that is entered onto the records of the student's performance on the course and will be taken into account for grading purposes. And that's simply the distinction. So I hope this short video makes that distinction clear. Let's leave it at that and say thank you for watching.